Well, the shadow, as Jung defines it, would represent those parts of ourselves, our own personality, or sometimes of our affiliations, our organizations, such as identification with the state or with a particular religious body or a certain political group, because groups have shadows too. Those aspects of ourselves, which, when brought to consciousness, we find contradictory to our professed values or our intentional values, we find disturbing, perhaps, or we find challenging in some ways. The shadow is not synonymous with evil. It has to do with our reluctance to engage what is intrapsychically active, because it threatens to some degree the assurances and stability of the ego consciousness. So most of the time, the shadow is experienced unconsciously, and we have to deal with the consequences that come out of our behaviors or our failures to act. Or secondly, we project it onto someone else. We disown what we find unacceptable in ourselves. And so we blame the people across that imaginary line on the other side, or people of another religion or color or whatever. Those are the people who've caused the problems that we're in. So I'm able once again to distance myself from my accountability for the shadow. So, ironically, Jung said our biggest shadow issue is not our capacity for evil, although there's significance there, of course. He said it's that we live unlived lives, small lives. He said we walk in shoes too small for us. And our biggest shadow is not stepping into the magnitude of our own journey to say, who am I? What is my calling here? What stands in the way of that? How am I to live my life in the face of circumstances over which perhaps I have little control? Those are questions which are intimidating, of course, for individuals. And so we rationalize, we postpone, we stuff it into the unconscious, we blame others. And those are maneuvers to avoid the shadow. But basically, to think of the shadow as the fullness of my own humanity. The wisest thing ever said about the shadow came from the Latin playwright Terence, 21 centuries ago, who said, "Nothing human is alien to me." So if I look at the world and I see the history of the world, I have to identify that I too carry that same DNA, those same capacities. One of your listeners might say, but I've never murdered anybody. Well, maybe we haven't literally, but maybe we've murdered somebody's dreams for them. Maybe we've murdered aspects of our own creative possibilities. The murder is alive and well in us. You can be sure of that. It doesn't mean we have to literally act it out, of course.